Well, hey there. I'm Gordon, and I'm with High Proof Low IQ. And so I'm doing a video by myself today, and there's two reasons for that. First, Scott's busy doing something else. And the other thing is, I got an inspiration to do a video, and I didn't want to wait on it. So uh, the reason I'm doing the video is because one of my daughters is visiting from out of town, and she watched some of the videos that we have been putting out. Like a good daughter, she's not subscribed and she hasn't been watching any of the videos until I asked her, but she finally did, and she shared them with some of her friends, and they all had the same comments, and that was they didn't know what the hell we were talking about. And so she wanted me to do a video where I talk about the tasting, how to taste whiskey. And so I'm going to do a quick video on how to taste whiskey. Of course, you can go into some serious detail on this. And so if you already know how to taste whiskey, maybe this video is not for you. If you're curious, wanting to get into bourbon or whiskey tasting, and you want to know a little, get a little more background information, or if you just want some information when you go into the grocery store or the liquor store, wherever you buy whiskey, and you go to the bourbon aisle and someone asks you if they can help you, you can actually tell them what kind of things you like, right? So you can determine your flavor profile when you're talking about flavors that you're picking up on whiskeys that you like, right? And so without further ado, we're going to get into it. So in order to taste whiskey, you got to have a whiskey. And so this is Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, and it's 100 proof, and it is 4 years old. And there are a lot more rules to bottle and bond, but for the purposes of this video, that's all we need to know. Okay. The other thing you want to know about this whiskey is it's a bottom shelfer. I did this on purpose because it's an entry-level bourbon, but I really like it, and it's got a screwed cap, so you know it's good. Costs less than $20, and in my opinion, it's a high-value pick for less than $20. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is a whiskey tasting glass. This whiskey tasting glass is called a Glencairn, and like a lot of whiskey tasting glasses, it's wide at the bottom and narrow at the opening. And without getting into a bunch of nerd stuff, I'm going to say it's better than a straight wall glass because the aromas will not escape from the glass as fast because the opening is narrow. And so you'll get a much more intense experience where you can maybe pick out some of the flavors. And that's why we use these glasses, right? Some of them will have stems, some of them will have a slightly different shape, but basically they'll all have this typical wide where the liquid is, narrow at the opening. So you pour the whiskey, you'll check out the color. This is kind of an amber color. It looks a little darker on the video than it really is. And you'll swirl it and coat the inside of the glass. That'll help you with more of the aromas because you'll increase the surface area. And then as it's dripping down the side of the glass, you can see some of that. Those are called the legs. And I'll do this a little more. So the legs are going to tell you more about the whiskey than a lot of things. So people will always say, oh, it's got good legs, or whatever. What they're talking about is those drips that are coming down the side of the glass, right? So the more established they are, like the thicker they are, or the thinner they are, the more of them there are, the fewer of them there are, the longer they take to develop, will tell you things, right? And you just kind of got to look at that and determine which, it'll tell you the level of viscosity, right? The thickness or the oiliness, the oil content that comes from the barrel that's in the whiskey. So generally older whiskeys will have more oil and better legs. And so that's how we come up with that. So when someone says it's got good legs, that means it's been in the barrel a while, or there's something about it that has extracted more. There's something that has caused this whiskey to extract more oil from the wood. And it might even be the oil content in the barrel. So let's see if we've got, so you'll see some of the drips forming in the glass. They're hard to do. This isn't a super viscous whiskey. So at any rate, we'll get on with it. So as far as the nose goes, I'm going to go ahead and make a list of all of the things I'm smelling. Okay, so on the nose, I get caramel, I get some brown sugar, I get vanilla, and a little bit of cinnamon. Those are typical bourbon notes that you'll get on the nose and the palate. And on this one, I actually get some roasted peanuts, like when you're at the ballpark and you open the bag of peanuts and the white dust comes out. That smell is kind of what I'm smelling. So I'm going to go ahead and go in for the taste, and I'm going to tell you about the palate, and that's the list of all the things that I'm tasting. And it's not just the taste, it's also the experience, right? So sometimes it can be some ingredients, like I can name out a spice that I'm tasting, or sometimes it's just a whole thing, like a baked good or a dessert. So I might say something like apple pie crust, or baked goods, or pastry, or something general like that, or something specific, like it tastes like a creme brulee. Well, if you've never eaten a creme brulee, you don't know what I'm talking about, right? So then you get into the ingredients, right? It tastes like toasted caramelized sugar or whatever. You'll say things like that, and that's what you're getting at. So I'm going to taste it. I'm going to take about a teaspoon, maybe a little less, in my mouth, and I'm going to spread it around in my mouth, and then I'm coat the inside of my mouth real good, and then I'm going to swallow it in 1 or 2 swallows, and then I'm going to do the Kentucky Chew, which is this. And I'm smacking my lips, but I'm also have my tongue on the roof of my mouth, right behind my front teeth, these 2 front teeth, and I'm dropping it down. And when I do that, I'm sucking a bunch of air into my mouth real quick, just in little bursts. And that'll atomize all the whiskey that's coating the inside of my mouth, and it'll give me a more intense, more concentrated flavors in my mouth, and it'll help me pick them out. And that's why I'm doing that. Then everything after I swallow is going to be called the finish, right? Even when I'm doing the chews. So anything that happens after I don't have the whiskey in my mouth anymore is going to be the finish. And so it's going to be the experience after that, right? Not just what I'm tasting, but also the way it feels. And so we'll talk about that. And then as it's going down your esophagus, that heat or the burn or even whatever kind of feeling it is called the hug or the Kentucky hug. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so let's go in for the taste. Okay, well, the finish is still going, and it's dying off about now. So it lasted about 4 or 5 seconds, and that's pretty good for a bottom shelfer. It's really good. So when I am tasting the whiskey, I'm thinking about the things that the flavors remind me of, right? So I get caramel, vanilla, brown sugar, and a hint of cinnamon and the peanuts on there. So that's kind of like, you could think about that as, if you could be more general or even more specific, I guess it depends on your point of view, you could talk about something you're eating that it tastes like all those things are in that thing, like all those things are in, with the exception of chocolate, or in a Snickers bar, right? So I didn't get any chocolate off that, but it's all the stuff except for, so maybe it's like a Payday, because it doesn't have chocolate in it, but not as salty as a Payday. And that's kind of what I'm tasting. And on the finish, I'm getting mostly some caramel, vanilla, and brown sugar. I don't really get anything else on the finish. And it was warm, going down. The heat dissipated from front to back and went down to about my Adam's apple down here. And that was the finish. All right, so we kind of talked about the tasting process. The flavors you're getting on the palate and the aromas you're getting on the nose are kind of just up to you. They're the things that the whiskey reminds you of, that's all. So your experiences, your culinary experiences, are going to be the same, what you're going to draw from. So I hope that was helpful. If you need more information, or if I didn't explain something right, or if I didn't explain something you want to know about, please leave it in the comments. Feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And until next time, This has been High Proof Low IQ. Cheers.